Next, make the eyes. They consist of a fabric piece and a purl. First, crochet the fabric piece. You need to switch colors every round here. After completing it, attach the purl at the corresponding position in the center. No new stitch techniques are used. Watch my demonstration. Let's start by crocheting the piece. First, pick up the corresponding color. Refer to the head's first round for crocheting. The method is simple, so I won't demonstrate it. Cut the yarn after finishing. Complete, and then crochet the second round. Pick up the corresponding yarn again. Join the yarn. Find the previous round. Insert the hook at the position where the yarn was cut. Then refer to the chart. Work the entire round. The method is simple, so I won't go into details. Remember to hide all the threads while crocheting. Slip stitch after finishing. Pull tight. Cut the yarn. The second round is complete. Now move on to the third round. Join the yarn at the position where the previous round ended. Then refer to the chart and crochet this round. Same method, simple, so I won't explain in detail. Slip stitch after finishing. Pull tight. Cut the yarn. The third round is complete. Now crochet the fourth round downward. This round needs to be crocheted using 2 strands of gold thread together. Separate the gold threads provided in the kit. Then pick up the beginning and ending yarn tails. Combine the 2 strands into one to crochet. Make a slip knot following the previous method. Then join the yarn at the place where it was cut off. To make it easier to watch, I'll demonstrate using a thicker yarn. After joining the yarn, make 1 chain stitch to start. Then pick up in the same hole, work a half double crochet increase. Then crochet 2 half double crochets in the following stitches. Continue crocheting by referring to the chart below. Finish with a slip stitch. Here, insert the hook into the stitch of the first half double crochet. Pull tight. Don't cut the yarn. Next, work on the 5th round. Pick up each stitch individually. Crochet a round of slip stitches. Here, start crocheting from the adjacent stitch on the left side. Complete the last stitch. You've reached the starting position. Pick up the stitch of the first stitch of the 4th round. That is the braid at the back. Make 1 slip stitch. Pull tight. Break the yarn. The 5th round is completed. Now work on the 6th round. You can see there are 2 rounds of braids on the fabric. The front one is the braid of the slip stitch. The back one is the stitch of the 4th round. Work into the stitch position of this round. Grab the corresponding yarn. Join the yarn at the place where the yarn was broken. Then make 1 chain stitch to start. Follow the chart for crocheting. While crocheting, remember to weave in ends. After completing, slip stitch into the first half double crochet stitch. Pull tight. Then leave a tail of about 30 centimeters. Cut the yarn. One eyepiece is now crocheted. Using the same method, crochet the other eyepiece. I will not repeat the demonstration. The piece is completed. Next, attach the pearls. There are 3 sizes of pearls here. Use the smallest size for attaching. Pick up the yarn from the first round of the eyepiece. Cut a strand. Then remove 1 strand. Take the thin needle. The needle should be able to pass through the pearl. Thread the yarn through the sewing needle. Then position the side of the fabric with the half double crochet area. On your right hand side. On the left side of the first round. at a position roughly corresponding to the half double crochet area. Attach the purl. Position the purl with its hole facing the upper left. Sew it in place. To make it secure, sew through a few times. Once done, tie a knot at the beginning and ending yarn tails to secure. The remaining yarn tails can be trimmed off, or simply tucked to the wrong side. This completes the purl attachment. For the other piece, attach the purl in the same position. The method is simple, so I won't repeat the demonstration. That concludes the explanation for making the eyes. Next, we'll crochet the horns and ears. The method is similar to that of the head. The horns are actually crocheted using 2 strands of gold thread together. I used cotton yarn for my sample swatch. There are 2 ears, both crocheted in rounds. Refer to the chart for the specific stitch pattern. The method is quite simple, so I won't demonstrate it here. After finishing, leave about 30 centimeters of yarn tail for sewing. That's all for crocheting the horns and ears. After completing, attach decorations to these 2 areas. First, attach a bell to the tip of the horn. Pick up the bell. Use 1 strand of gold thread. Take a small piece, and position it at the center top, or at a position you prefer. Sew the bell in place. Leave a little extra yarn at the beginning. You can sew a few times to make it secure. Once done, tie a double knot at both ends of the thread to secure it. Since the yarn is special here, you can tie a few more knots for extra strength. The remaining yarn can be tucked inside directly. That's how the bell is attached. Finally, do the stuffing. Just stuff it inside directly. That's how the corner accessory is attached. Once done, attach the ear accessories. First, follow the slip stitch marks on the ear, pressing it flat. Then take the crocheted yarn of the ear. Take a small piece, remove one strand, thread the needle. Then on the front side of the first round, attach the tassel outward. Attach the largest purl in the middle of the tassel. First, attach the tassel. Secure it with just a couple of stitches. Then take the purl and attach it. Sew it a few times to secure. Once done, tie a knot at the beginning and ending yarn tails. Weave the remaining yarn tails into the fabric. You can weave in a few more stitches if needed. The other yarn tail can be handled the same way, just weave it into the fabric. I won't demonstrate it, so one ear accessory is installed. The other ear can be done the same way. On the front side of the first round, attach the tassel facing outward, attach the largest purl in the middle. The two ear accessories are symmetrical. The method is simple. I won't repeat the demonstration. That's all for the horn and ear accessory parts. Complete the crocheted sections. Finally, assemble and attach the remaining decorations. Start with assembling and decorating the head area. Begin by attaching the horns to the top of the head. Place the horns and the slip stitch marks on the head on the same side. The opening of the horn corresponds to the fourth round of the head. Then use the reserved yarn. Pick up the gaps and sew. When there's still some distance left to sew, if you'd like to add more stuffing, you can fill it in through the remaining opening. I won't demonstrate that here. Once done, continue sewing downward. Finally, weave in the ends. You can weave in a few extra stitches. This way, the horns are attached. Next, attach the eyes. First, position them in place. Place the eyepiece with the half double crochet area facing outward, and tilt it slightly upward. Position the pearl facing inward. Then place it on the front of the head, the side without slip stitch marks. The top edge of the eye aligns with the 9th round of the head. Starting from the side of the horn, it's the 5th round. The space between the two eyes, leave a space of about 3 stitches apart. Then sew it in place using the reserved yarn. Start by sewing on one side of the eye. There's no specific sewing method required, just make sure it's secure. Weave in the ends after completing the sewing. That's how you sew on one eyepiece. The other one is sewn on symmetrically. I won't repeat the demonstration. Add a border around the eyes after completing them. First, prepare the channel stem and shape it. Take the shaping wire. Insert the channel stem from the edge. And twist it inward a bit. Try to twist it evenly in this area. That way, the texture will look better. After twisting for a certain distance, compare it with the eye. The eye should face slightly inward and upward. Make the channel stem a bit straighter. Then place it along the edge of the fabric piece at the bottom. Creating a curve like this. The curve here should be smooth. Connect the beginning and ending. After completing, trim off the excess channel stem. Remove the shaping wire. That's how you finish the channel stem. Next, sew and secure the frame in place. I'll demonstrate the method using this sample swatch. Use white yarn for the actual project. I'm using a different color for the sample demonstration. Take a longer yarn tail. Pull out one strand. Thread it into the yarn needle. Then place the frame at the corresponding position on the eyes fabric piece. The end with the corner should face inward. Start sewing. There's no specific requirement for the method, just make it secure. Leave a little yarn at the beginning. I'm sewing it a bit loosely here. You can make the stitches denser when you sew. After completing, bring the yarn back to the starting position. Tie a knot at the beginning and end of the yarn tails to secure them. Hide the remaining yarn tails inside the fabric. You can weave in a few more stitches for better security. The other yarn tail can also be hidden inside the fabric the same way. I won't demonstrate it again. With that, the eye frame is completed. The other one is done the same way. Pay attention to keeping the frame shape symmetrical. The method is simple. I won't demonstrate it again either. Next, attach the ears on both sides of the corner. Pressing it flat. Place one end at the 7th round position. Pay attention to positioning the eyes facing forward. The other end follows the curve of the head. Pay attention to having the side with the purl facing forward. Once the position is set, start sewing. Using the reserved yarn, pick up the bottom of the ear, and sew it to the corresponding position on the head. After completing, hide the yarn inside the fabric. This way, one ear is attached, the other side is done the same way. I won't repeat the demonstration. Pay attention to keeping the ear positions symmetrical. Move down between the eyes. And sew a patterned bead underneath. As the nose. Position the bead with the hole vertically. Then use the yarn from the head crocheting to sew and secure it in place. In my sample, I'm using a different color for demonstration. Pull out 2 strands of the yarn. Thread the yarn into the sewing needle. Then place it at the corresponding position. Start sewing. To make it secure, sew through a few times. Once completed, bring the yarn back to the starting position. Tie off the beginning and ending yarn tails. Hide the remaining yarn tails inside the fabric. I won't demonstrate this part here. This way, the nose is securely attached. Next, underneath the nose, attach 2 yellow pom-poms using glue. Place them side by side. This way, the pom-poms are attached. Finally, attach a pipe cleaner below the pom-poms. Again, start by preparing it first. Fit and shape it as needed. The method is simple, so I won't repeat the demonstration. Next, I'll explain the placement and shape. Place one end of the pipe cleaner about 1 centimeter below the bottom of the ear. Then, at the seam on the head, position it in a direction parallel to the curve of the eyes. When you reach the pom-pom, bend it into a pointed shape at the middle. Then continue positioning it parallel to the curve of the eyes. All the way to the bottom of the other ear. Stop about 1 centimeter from the bottom. Trim off the remaining part. Here, center it at the corner position. The curves on both sides should be symmetrical, once positioned correctly. Start sewing it in place. In practice, use white yarn for sewing. I'll demonstrate with a different color. Take one strand as well. Thread the sewing needle. To maintain symmetry, start sewing from the pointed corner towards one side. Once done, weave the yarn tail into the fabric. The starting tail can also be hidden inside the fabric. Secure the other side using the same method. I won't demonstrate that part. That's all for attaching the channel stem. The assembly and decoration of the head area are now complete. Next, we'll move on to the assembly and decoration of the chin area. First, attach the teeth to the upper part of the chin. Position the teeth with the cast-on side facing inward. Keep the side with the neat fabric texture facing up. Center the teeth. Align them centrally with the edge of the chin. Place them along the edge. The starting and ending positions here should be symmetrical. Once done, use the reserved yarn to proceed. Sew along the top edge of the teeth, attaching them to the corresponding position on the chin. There's no need to sew the inner side. If the fabric isn't lying flat after sewing, feel free to add a few extra stitches to secure it. Finally, weave in the remaining yarn end into the fabric. You can weave in a few extra stitches for better hiding. This way, the teeth will be securely attached. Next, install the pipe cleaner along the edge of the chin. Start by preparing it first. While doing that, check the dimensions to make sure they match. Once prepared, sew from one end to the other using yarn. The method is quite simple, so I won't demonstrate it here. Please attach the pipe cleaner yourselves. After that, sew the head to the chin. Let me first explain the position using the finished product. Place the head with the front side facing forward. The pipe cleaner at the bottom of the head matches up with the one on the chin. Then pick up the stitches at the back of the chin. Sew a few stitches to secure the corresponding position on the head. I'll demonstrate this using a small sample. Use the yarn left reserved from the chin for sewing. Once done, hide the yarn tail inside the fabric. I won't demonstrate this part here. Finally, at the seam where the two parts are sewn together, apply glue. Attach 6 red pom-poms horizontally. That concludes the assembly and decoration of the chin area. Next, we'll move on to decorating the body and assembling the legs. Start from the inner side of the lace at the very top. In this area, attach 2 types of accessories, small pearls and sequins. The position and quantity here are up to you. I'll demonstrate the method. First, cut a strand of yarn that matches the color of this area. I'll use a different color for demonstration. Then pull out one strand of yarn, insert it into a thin needle. The needle should be thin enough to pass through the seed beads. Next, draw the thread through any position. Leave a little yarn inside. Then pick up a sequin. I'm using a random color here. Place the sequin with the concave side facing up. Next, insert a seed bead. Draw the thread back through the center of the sequin. To make it secure, repeat this method a few times. When done, draw the thread through any position. Then attach the small pearls. Similarly, if you want it to be secure, you can repeat the process a few times. Next, continue attaching small pearls and sequins. Draw the thread through any position. From now on, follow this method. Continue attaching both types of accessories. The method is simple, so I won't demonstrate further. Once completed, you can bring the yarn to the starting position and tie a knot, or simply hide it into the fabric. The yarn tail can be hidden into the fabric. I won't demonstrate it here. That's all for the installation of the two types of accessories. Next, proceed with attaching the lace trim chain. Only the first and second layers of lace, from bottom to top, need to be attached with chains. I'll demonstrate using the second layer as an example. First, cut a piece of yarn, used for crocheting the main body. I'll demonstrate with a different color. Then pull out 2 strands of the yarn, thread the needle. Next, pick up the chain. Find the slip stitch marks of the lace from one side, along the wrong side of the motif. Sew it in place. Here, the chain is attached by picking up the holes in the pattern. First, secure the starting point of the chain. Here, tie off the yarn tail to secure it. Then continue sewing along the fabric. Pay attention not to sew too tight during the process. If the yarn is not long enough while sewing, thread the yarn to the wrong side. Then take 2 strands of new yarn. Tie a knot. Then continue sewing with the new attached yarn. Follow this method for the rest of the process. Sew until the chain is completed. I'll stop the demonstration here. The remaining chains need to be removed after completion. Let me demonstrate the method here. First, loop it through the ring. Here, at the chain position without beads. Clip half of the chain into the seam of the ring. Then use pliers to open up the opening. This way, the remaining chain is removed. Later, after securing the remaining positions, thread it to the wrong side and weave in the ends. The weaving in method has been demonstrated earlier. It's quite simple, so I won't demonstrate it again here. That's all for the chain attachment explanation. Later, using the same method, on the back side of the first layer's lace trim, also sew a round of chain. I won't repeat the demonstration here. After completing, on the front side of the lace trim, centered on each motif, sew on the pearls. Here, we're using medium-sized pearls. Among them, the second and third layers from the bottom up need to be secured to the main part when sewing. I'll demonstrate using the second layer as an example. First, cut a piece of yarn from the main bodice crocheted yarn. Pull out 2 strands. I'll demonstrate with another color, then sew it on. When moving from one point to the next, carry the yarn across inside the fabric. Continue with the same method afterward. Keep sewing on medium-sized pearls. The method is simple, so I won't demonstrate further. After sewing, hide all yarn tails inside the fabric. Then use the same method for the topmost layer. Attach medium-sized pearls. Note that the first layer doesn't need to be secured to the main part. The method is simple, so I won't repeat the demonstration. That concludes the explanation of the body decorations. Finally, attach the legs. Start by attaching 2 legs that are filled with stuffing. First, attach a rubber band between the legs. The sides of both legs where decreases were made should face forward. Then, about 5 rounds down from the opening, slightly toward the back. Sew on the rubber band. In actual use, use thread that matches the leg color, but I'll demonstrate with a different color. Take a long yarn tail, pull out 2 strands, thread the needle. Next, sew the rubber band inside one leg. The method isn't specified, just make it secure. You can start by securing it in place. Once done, hide the beginning and ending yarn tails inside the fabric. I won't demonstrate this part. But after finishing, pick up the corresponding leg. Sew the other side of the elastic to the matching inner area. When taking the thread, make it a bit longer. If the tails are long after sewing, leave them. If short, just weave them in. This way, the elastic between the 2 legs is installed. Next, attach it to the inner side of the second layer lace on the body. Keep it centered overall. The toes of the 2 legs here, meaning the side with decreases faces upward. Sew the top part of the elastic downward. I'll continue using the previous yarn for sewing. Remember to keep everything centered? Once done, just weave in the ends. I won't demonstrate this part. Achieving a result like this. After completing, take the opening of the leg and sew it to the body. Thread the yarn into the needle. Press the opening flat. After finding the corresponding position, proceed with sewing. Once done, weave in the ends. The other leg is done the same way. Sew the opening to the corresponding position on the body. I won't repeat the demonstration. Next, attach the two front legs. You should try the position first. Pass the elastic through the hand. Then thread the middle finger through the opening on the body to the hole at the head. At this point, insert the front leg. Find a position that feels comfortable for your finger. You can also adjust the finger position based on your own preference. Adjust the finger position as needed. Then check where the fabric lines up with the body. You can mark the position first using a pen or thread. Once done, continue installing downward. Position the toe of the front leg, which is the side with the decreases, matching the direction of the head. Then bring this front part and sew it to the marked position. At this point, the yarn tail is on the side. Bring it to the front. Then sew a few stitches to secure it. Once done, hide the yarn tail inside the fabric. I won't demonstrate it here. The other one can be done using the same method. Attach it to the corresponding position. Same as before, I won't demonstrate it here. With that, all the decorations and assembly have been explained. When using it as a hand puppet, first thread it according to the previous method. Then insert your fingers into the two front legs, and the head as you prefer. That's how to use it. Up to this point, The entire process of making the decorative piece has been fully explained. If you have any unclear parts during the crocheting process, don't hesitate to join our Facebook group to get supports. Susan's family, one stitch at a time, sharing the joy of life. Thank you all for watching. See you in the next episode.